How are you doing, everybody? For those of you who have purchased my course, this is this is the second week. This is part 3 and 4, because it's 2 videos per week. We are on the second week, and the title for this one is the ethereal matter and carbon matter. So we are going to discuss the ethereal matter versus carbon matter. And I'm going to explain to you which came first, the chicken or the egg. The reality is that we have many different planes in existence. The ancient wisdom teachings tell us that it's about 22 different planes of existence. These 22 different planes of existence are not made of carbon matter. They're made of a milky, mucus-like, gooey-like substance called ethereal milk. It's still part of ethereal matter. But ethereal matter can be broken down into many different subcategories of itself. You have the emotional plane. It looks milky. It's white. You know when you see the tides of the oceans break against the banks and you see that white fluff? That's how it looks like. This plane is milky and it's sticky and gooey like mucus. It's the emotional plane, right? I mean in seaweed. No. So, each spiritual plane, oh, it's spicy. Each spiritual plane has its own characteristics, its own morphology. Carbon matter is the densest form of matter and doesn't resemble in morphology the characteristics found in the other planes and subplanes. Having said that, each plane correlates, and there's 22 of them. Each plane correlates to a particular level of reality. Spiritual reality. I'm going to draw a diagram, right? In hopes of giving you a simulated example of how these planes may appear. Okay? And the human body, the human being has 7 bodies. But the only one that you can see is the physical body. But we have 6 other bodies. And the 7th one is this, what you see, the physical, which is 100% carbon-based matter. But the other bodies within each human being is not made of carbon matter. It's made of ethereal matter. Okay? Ethereal matter, and I'm going to explain it to you. Ethereal matter, let me write it down. Ethereal matter. Ethereal matter, actually, every substance or plane or subplane of existence that we see that exists, or we don't see that exists because you're an average human being and you're still plugged in the system, like the Matrix, you're not going to know if you're not an initiate. So I take that back. Ethereal matter is a substance in which the spirit world is made of. The physical world here, as we know it, is made out of carbon matter. But the ethereal world, that which has always existed, because it's not like ethereal matter came to be. No, ethereal matter has always existed. And that's something that you're not going to understand, because you're not designed to understand that kind of infinity. It says that the kingdom of God has not reached the imagination of man. That's really very true. We don't have a clue as to the imagination of the kingdom of God, what that is, what is within us, and also without. But we have no idea what that is. And we don't have the mental capacity to understand it, because we were created by these extraterrestrial beings not to understand that level of advancement, because if we do, we become gods ourselves. What does it say in Genesis? Let us take man and remove him from the garden, for he has tasted from the tree of knowledge. Now, if he eats from the tree of life, he shall be awakened, and he shall be one of us, as gods. So let us remove him from the garden of Eden, and put cherubim swords of flame guarding the entrance back to the Garden of Eden. Let him go and be released. I'm going to explain to you what that really was all about. I'm going to tell you in due time during this 6-week course the real shit about that. But for the moment, I'm going to use the reference to validate another point, which is that man was designed and created according to the whims and dictates of the lesser gods, the lesser deities. Was this supposed to happen? Well, according to the ancient wisdom teachings, no, this was not supposed to happen. Other beings came in and interfere with Jehovah's enslavement of human beings and creating them to fit a certain, caste system that the gods and the archons have created. Okay? To be honest, the serpent in the garden, when we go to the Bible, again, the church makes it look like the serpent is the enemy. The serpent is not the enemy. The serpent in the Garden of Eden is actually the good guy. He's there to warn man of Jehovah's machinations and schemes. You eat from the apple, you will not die. You shall live. The serpent was the good guy and was the first whistleblower. The serpent was the first whistleblower that was trying to alert man as he was being formed and created what the demiurgic God was planning to do to them. Because the soul of man was created by the God that we don't know. But understand that the God that we don't know not only created us, but before he created us, he created lesser gods, demiurgic gods, the Elohim, in order to rule the ordinances of the earth and the heavens. Because everybody has an appointed office. No, you just don't have creation just like running amok. You got agents and people you got beings that are in charge of certain departments, It is a very systemic order. that's run by multiple gods and demiurgic gods and lesser gods, the EGG and the jinn and what we call archons today. So understand that we are living in a planetary solar system that has multiple beings living right along with humans. And humans are the only ones that reflect the actual morphology of our planet. Because the planet Earth is made of matter, carbon matter. And so are we, made of carbon matter and also stardust, right? But even stardust is carbon. Remember your high school chemistry or your college chemistry. I took college chemistry all the way to grad school. So I have to, if I'm going to be an anthropologist and do carbon dating and make validations and reference certain points, I have to. So understand that there's a timeline towards the chronology of human development and also the development of our planet. And I had mentioned in the beginning that we were all created at the same time. The planet Earth wasn't created, and then after the planet was created, human beings were created and put in it. No, that's not true. Because and let me tell you something. I am a Darwinist. I believe in the Darwin theory, but I understand what occurred during the process of the human genome and its evolution. The human being in the making was fabricated and created by splicing genes and taking other types of animal more closer to the primate, Homo erectus, that the extraterrestrials use to be able to then infiltrate and perfect the human being that can be autonomous, self-sustaining, self-procreating, and able to follow a code that was embedded in our DNA to believe that the God that we must serve is the one outside of us. So the soul created by the God that we don't know was taken by the lesser gods and manipulated and enslaved in this carbon matter. It says in Genesis, and God Jehovah took man and drove him out of the garden, and he created coats of skin for them. We're not talking about skins from animals or bison, which was probably around at that time if we're going to go back to the Pleistocene period. Okay? No, it wasn't animal skin. The coats of skin that the Genesis talks about is the carbon matter of the human flesh that was put on the spirit, which enslaved spirit into this flesh, into this carbon matter. This is what's referenced in the Bible in the book of Genesis of coats of skin. The coats of skin reference there is this carbon matter. So now the spirit of us, which is reflective of the God that created us in the womb that we do not know, and now has become enslaved in carbon matter by a demiurgic God who took control along with 200 other fallen angels who've decided to tamper with the destiny of mankind. Can you fathom that? That's real. That's the truth. The unprecedented truth. And we have been brainwashed and conditioned to believe that our salvation lies outside of ourselves and to these demiurgic gods who help create us. And encoded in our DNA that concept of worshiping those outside of us. Because we were created not for our own sake, but to aid the enslaving alien race that chose to create humans as a form of enslaved labor. That is the true, honest reality of our existence. We were taken as slaves. Humanity has been taken ransom to work and serve those who are running governments, running the country, running our planet, who are not even human. Let's take a pause on that. I'm having a sun-kissed margarita. I created it. It's delicious. Delicious! Delicious! I'm not going to release my formula. I am a chemist at heart. And in academia, I do have. So, I create my own infusions and concoctions. Okay. So understand that we are here dealing with um different levels of reality. You understand, or you must have heard of the master numbers. The master numbers 11 and 22 refer to the different planes of existence that exist in interstellar space, which you cannot see or perceive with our five senses, because we are enslaved, encased, encapsulated in carbon matter. So now our own divinity has been dulled and nullified. And we can only exert a certain level of degree of power according to the fabric of our own mind and our own making. This is also part of the enslavement. Is that if you don't think that you are divine, you are not going to be. So a man thinketh, so he is. That's a proverb that's in the Bible. But our beings who created us made sure that we never tap into the divinity, which is our divine birthright, which has nothing to do with the demiurgic or Elohim gods or lesser gods or archons who are now enslaving humanity and using us as a form of battery to feed off of us, feed off our misery, our pain, our sorrow. Like Carlos Castaneda said, there's a predator among us. And human beings are completely asleep about this predator. And this predator are the archons, who have always been here. Anthropologists have a name for them called the Ogdod. In Africa, they're called the Chitangwo. So these beings, and they are reptilian in nature. Many of them come from Sirius, the Pleiades, Orion, and the more dangerous one come from Draconis. Game of Thrones, that the show Game of Thrones is draconian in origin, and these beings come from that part of our night sky. For these constellations that you see in the night sky, don't get it twisted. There are living entities in these constellations, in these star systems that you see at night. When you're laying down in a country road, you're feeling in the country and you see the multitude of stars out in the heaven. It's beautiful. It's demonically beautiful. Don't get it twisted. Every single one of those stars that you see out in the night sky are populated with beings. Some of them are terrifying beings. Some of them are horrific beings. Some are beings that humans should not be acquainted with or know. This observable universe, as far as the eye can see, is populated with all kinds of beings. But the church made sure that we did not know this and painted these beings and extraterrestrials and archons as angels with wings and demons with tails and a pitchfork. Total bullshit. I'm going to tell it. So you have to understand that there are many beings living here in our planet. And they influence our thoughts. They influence our actions. These beings talk to us and they make us do all kinds of things. Especially when we are in a heightened state of emotion. If you are emotional, I hate you, drop dead. This emotional charge of energy is what archons live for. They feed that energy from us. They use us as a battery and use us and exhaust us. And they pitch us against each other. Because when we fight each other, we generate ectoplasm. When there's a lot of bloodshed, the blood has ectoplasm. And the archons, which we call demons, feed off of this ectoplasm. And it gives them power. And we humans are clueless as to what's going on. So, how can we stop these beings from tapping us like this? and taking our essence and using it for their own sustenance while we are sucked dry in misery. Why do you think that this planet is so miserable? Again, and I'm going to be repeating myself from time to time. There's so much pain and misery and sadness. 89% of the planet lives in poverty. Desperate poverty. Every country is fighting each other. I mean, this is hell down here. You think that this is the product of a loving God? An all-embracing, all-loving, all-encompassing God? Are you stupid? Of course not. We have a predator among us and a demiurgic God who is the warden of this solar system in which human beings are to be enslaved. But at the same time, it is an earth school. We're here to learn, to evolve, and become gods ourselves. You think that's going to be easy? That's not going to be easy. And that kind of knowledge is certainly not going to be given to us. Right? So understand what's going on here. We've been placed on this planet so we can evolve. This is a school. The problem is that we don't know to which degree this is heading. What is the purpose for us being here and experiencing what we are experiencing? To what end? Why? Well, if you are to ask a shaman, we have the answer. We are being trained to become gods ourselves. Each of us in our own different field, in our own different sphere of influence. For example, let's take me, for example. I'm an astrologer. I've been an astrologer my whole life, even when I did other professions. I'm 51 years old. And I've dedicated my entire life to being a shaman and an astrologer, despite the other professions that I've done and been successful at in every area, including always financially. Never had a care in the world. But the reason why I was awarded such an antithetical, even charmed life in which I lead is because I was called to duty. I'm here representing a demiurgic God who I've been called upon to be its priest and actually disseminate into the human condition the true divine architect of our Lord, the creator and the stewardship of our solar system, Jehovah, Brahman, Vishnu, Kali, Pele, Satan, Brahma, Buddha, Allah. I don't care what name he goes under. It's the same God. The same demiurgic God who is in charge, who is the warden of this solar system and anything and everything under it. Understand that every single solar system has its own God ruling it. One of the only ones in our universe, and God that we call God is not the only God. Again, look it up, do your research. If you have a Jewish friend, talk to him and let him know. What is the word Elohim? And he will tell you. It means gods with S. Gods. And these gods are lesser gods. And they're under the rulership of another lesser god, who is actually the demiurgic God, which rules each particular solar system. In our solar system, the God that's ruling our particular system is Jehovah. That he goes by the Hebrew name Yahweh or Yahweh. It's Jehovah, the God of destruction. Je God, Hova, God of destruction. The God that we know all well and we're very familiar with from the Old Testament. This is the God of the Jews, in which the agency and agenda of Jehovah is to move through this race of people. But Jehovah is everybody's God. But the focal funnel in which he's going to reach and influence each and every one of our lives, for good or bad, will be done through the Jewish pathway. Something that Moses had created long, long ago. Who introduced Jehovah into our system. Okay? Let's be clear about that. Yet, we can't see this God. We can't see him. We can't touch him. We can't smell him. Because this God exists in one of those planes that I'm talking about. There are 22 planes. And when I leave my body and go into these space travels, I can see the different levels and planes of reality. If people only knew, but people don't have a clue. They don't know a thing. But they're not supposed to, in a way, because this type of terrifying information is not for everybody. And again, you have to be unplugged. You can't be plugged in. Again, you gotta watch that fucking movie, The Matrix. They really tell you what's going on. They really tell you what's up. They tell you what's up. They tell you what's going on. Like Luther Vandross says, what's going on? You know? So, understand that the ethereal world is made of a substance that's non-carbon matter. And it is this ethereal substance that gives birth to the physical matter. And the way that it gives birth to the physical matter is to the Big Bang. You know, you can supplement what I'm talking about if you go to medium.com/anthropological series, or you put in the search, Fernando Prudhomme, and all of my essays will show up. And I want you to read them because they go in sync with the videos. For those of you who are paying for this class. Okay? So understand that these different levels of realities, because each plane is like a string. And I gotta tell you this. The string theorist, now I'm talking theoretical physics. Theoretical physicists talk about string theory. Now, again, I told everybody knows that my major in college was chemistry and my minor was physics. And I taught high school physics. So I understand the world of very complex. The math is fucking insane. The mathematics is insane. And I've been blessed to have the intellectual knowledge to understand it and understand its formulas. So understand that in string theory, as determined by string theorists and theoretical physicists, is that these planes are different dimensional levels of reality. They are now beginning to talk about that. They are now beginning to postulate that. But if you talk to a shaman or an astrologer, we will tell you that we've been knowing that. Been knowing that. Science is now catching up to us. But yet, we are the ones that are ridiculed, ostracized, demonized, and even persecuted because our ideas are crazy and demonic and we worship the devil. But now, 2019, 2018, now, what we have postulated, which many of us will burn at the stake and die behind it. Now science is beginning to realize, oh, these witches and sorcerers and astrologers were right all along. They say that among each other. They don't publish that publicly. We are still the bastard children of the scientific community, even though we were the ones that let the scientific know that these planets were there. Without our knowledge of these planets being there, they would have never found that they were there for them to learn it and under the branch of science to be born. Okay? We've been demonized and made ridicule for what we've always known was there. This is the power of the antithetical and spirit. We feel sorry for the scientific community. They think that because their mathematics is so perfect and so congruent, it answers a lot, but it doesn't give you the why. Why is God God? Can your mathematical equations answer that? Of course not. So what does the scientific community does? It dismisses God. It says that it doesn't exist because they didn't know how to develop the quantum formula to figure that his existence is real. That was certainly the case when I was growing up in the 80s. Today, we have a sophisticated scientific bedrock that now acknowledges paranormal activity and the spiritual world and dimensions in which these paranormal activities stem from. We are now beginning to appreciate that what the ancient wisdom teachers have been postulating all along has really been true all along. But it took science time to catch up to it. Because God forbid it's not in their microscope or telescope or they don't see it in their mathematical equations, then it's not to be taken seriously. Thank God that science is moving away from that because it has not worked. And to this day, the scientific community does not know how to define God. So what does it do? It dismisses God. There is the door, the secret door of knowledge. I gotta make a little entertainment, You're all paying a lot of money for this. I gotta make a little bit entertaining as well as factual. Okay? I gotta give you a little performance. But I'm telling you, it is what it is. Now I gotta go to the little boy's room, so give me a minute, okay? Okay. I hope that didn't take too much time. All right. Now understand that we have an ethereal world and then we have a physical world. Now, when it says in the Bible, and God moved among the face of the waters, you don't really think that he was talking about the water that we know down here in planet Earth, right? The water that we drink, right? The water that's in our lakes, that's in our oceans. that serve as aquifers, right? Water, the lakes of water that are buried underneath the earth. Fresh water in which we use to drink, right? Most of the water that we drink to be alive come from rivers and aquifers. So you'll know, if you didn't know. So, are we talking about the morphology of how water looks like? Are we talking about water like that? Well, you probably didn't even know that the word ether, right? Ether, where we derive the word ethereal. The word ether, that's water. The waters of space. Remember, if we got water down below on planet Earth, then that same water exists above. As above, so below. Understand that this is the formula. As above, so below. So if we have water down here and oceans of water down here, then we have oceans of water up above. But it doesn't look like the water that looks down here. It looks different. And we call that ether, the ethereal. This is the cosmic waters of space. That's the water that the Bible is talking about. And God moved upon the face of the waters. You substitute the word waters, and God moved upon the face of the ethereal matter. And now we have a clear picture that God is moving through space, to the ethereal matter of space. And then he saw the world below, which was being cast off as the universe was being created and the solar system was being created. And he saw that it was without form. So he went down there and made the planet habitable for life. And that we are going to discuss in detail here in my classes, because it happened in several stages. The first one being the Polarian epoch. The second being the Hyperborean epoch, the Lemurian epoch, and the Atlantean epoch. These epochs, as I will describe in detail, give a scientific explanation of the rise to our planet, how our planet came to be, and the demiurgic gods, the Elohim, that took hold of this particular planet in our particular solar system and established rule, which is going on to this very day. And I'm going to explain that to you in graphic detail. But first, I gotta give you a visual aid. A visual aid of what we're talking about when we're dealing with the planetary energy of, planet Earth, and what took place here and what's still taking place down here, and understanding just how powerful the feminine is. Okay? Latin jazz. Somehow it calms me down, because these archons are like, oh. The weed, of course, just makes me sensual. And that's what I am. What I am. Okay. I'm creating a diagram for you. Okay. So that you understand. Finally, the string theorists and the theoretical physicists are beginning to discover what we as shamans have always known existed. The scientific community is bedazzled. Bedazzled. We're not bedazzled as shamans. We know that the spirit world has always existed. There is no timeline. Like it says in the Bible, the kingdom of God has not reached the imagination of man. But understand that this makes sense. Human beings only use less than 5% of our brain power, as we are taught this by conventional science. And yet the brain is capable of 100% capacity. Did you see the movie Lucy? With Morgan Freeman and I forgot the woman who played Lucy, the actress. I love her. I watch all her movies. She was in the Fantastic Four movie. She played Lucy. When she reached 90%, 100%, she became God. And I love the ending of the movie where they show the anthropological knowledge of the earth. Back from the virus, from the bacterium, to the dinosaurs, to the future, to the Jupiter period, the Pluto period, the Uranus period, the Vulcan period. It took you there. The people who created the movie Lucy, or who wrote the movie Lucy, are members of the club. When I love that movie. That movie breaks it down for you, baby. And if you cannot figure out what that movie is telling you about you and the nature of God and the cosmos, fantastic movie. If you don't figure it out, then you're still plugged in and you're still not meant to know. Because movies speak to people. And movies of advanced levels will speak to people of advanced levels. If you're not at that level, those movies will not speak to you. You will not understand what you're looking or watching. To you, it'll be entertainment, a great movie. $10, some popcorn, okay, and then you're done. But for those who know what they're watching, it's like, oh shit. They are letting you know that they know. And they are indirectly fashioning and shaping the consciousness of the collective by these movies. They are putting the germinal seed into the public through these movies and shows, and people don't have a clue how they're being infused and infiltrated and indoctrinated with these types of template truths. It depends who's the one doing the templating. Okay? So understand that if you are going to be involved in the occult and make this your life, for your own knowledge's sake, you have to understand that you cannot stop. You have to continue learning and continue absorbing unto death. It is an initiation that has an open door policy, but not a closed door policy. But God forbid you should turn your back. It might cost you your life. So understand that if you are psychologically ready and prepared to handle the deeper mysteries of our planet, our universe, ourselves within it, and God, and what that is all about, understand that it's all part of the great illusion. This is a soap opera. We're living a soap opera, a cosmic soap opera, in which everybody plays a role. And the gods are writing the script. And Jehovah, the demiurgic God who's ruling this particular system, is its director. So if you look at it that way, you get to see the grand scheme and the grand architect and design that has been created for us, for our enslavement, for our particular earth experience in this plane. And if you can see that and transcend it, you can defeat and beat Jehovah and tap into your own divinity. This is what Jesus Christ was trying to teach us before he was brutally killed and hung on the cross. We don't have to rely on no fucking pope, on no fucking priest. Even me. Our job is to teach you to seek your own salvation and your own self-empowerment. Not to enslave you and make you codependent on what we say you should do. We should train you to use your mind for you to be able to liberate yourself without us. But then again, that means that we have to surrender power. And the ones that have taken ransom of this planet, these archons and their rulers, don't want to give up this planet and its inhabitants. We are battery energy for them. And they've been here for a very long time. Just as long as we humans have been. Uh-huh. So we have to be able to strike a balance with these beings which have always been here. And so have we. So have we. It's a battle. But the good thing that we can hold on to is that these archons and extraterrestrial beings that are right here coexisting with us, but in different planes and subplanes that we cannot see, touch, smell, feel, touch. And we can't see them, but they see us. And they know our feelings. They know our impulses. They know our weaknesses, our strength. Ooh, baby. Oh, baby. Don't get it twisted. We are the ones as humans that are grossly unaware, physically, mentally, and psychologically, to the fact that we have a predator among us. So the question becomes, how do we beat this predator? Seaweed. How do we beat this predator among us? The only way we can do that is by reaching a collective mass consciousness. Every single human being has to connect with every single human being. When we connect towards one goal, do you know how powerful we can be? I first saw this when Michael Jackson did the album We Are the World in the 1980s to solve world hunger. There was a lot of famine going on in Somalia. I believe it was 1984, 85, I wasn't sure. It was in the 80s. The famine and genocide that was happening in East Africa raised public attention when Michael Jackson got involved. And he did a video, We Are the World. And everybody held hands. And everybody held hands from every country. It was beautiful. I don't think even Michael Jackson realized what he did. Do you know that to this day, there is no poverty and hunger in Ethiopia? That prayer connected every single race and culture around the world, and Michael Jackson did that. It shows that when we unite collectively as a race, as a human race, we can obliterate any problem. Ethiopia does not have that kind of hunger and famine that it used to in the 80s. It was obliterated. That was the intent and consciousness of Michael Jackson. And then I remember holding hands in high school. I was in high school when that song was written. A junior high school. I was in junior high school. We have to get back to that. We have to tap into the universal mass consciousness, which is humanity and the collective. We can solve the problems of the Middle East if we band together in consciousness and make it so. We are gods ourselves. It's in Psalm 84. The Bible. It's in the Quran. It's in the Torah or the Talmud. I go more with the Torah versus the Talmud. The Talmud is man-made. not the Torah. Okay? So understand that science and spirituality, even religion, which remember, religion and spirituality are different, but this in itself is a trinity. The physical, the spiritual, and the third body that I mentioned. It forms a trinity. And in that trinity, we can choose to elevate ourselves, elevate our fellow human beings, and elevate our planet. You have to understand that we have an ethereal plane with 22 main planes and 11 subplanes and 7 subplanes. It is a spiral of dimensions, transdimensions, 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 transdimensions. It's almost an endless spiral upwards or a spiral downwards. If you look at our Andromeda galaxy, our galaxy next door, or the Milky Way, which is what we're in, it twirls like a spiral. Everything moves like a spiral. When you brush your teeth in the sink and you open the faucet, if you do it in the morning, the water will spiral one way. If you open the same faucet at night, the spiral will happen the other way. Because remember, the earth is rotating on its own axis. We just are not aware of it. Understand that we are living a great illusion, which is circular. The earth goes around the sun. The earth has its dynamic movement around our moon. All the planets move around in an orbital path. So life is circular. And circular defines cycles. From point A, you can go back to that point a year from now, 2 years from now, 7 years from now, 30 years from now. The cycles all repeat themselves. We're living in a circular existence where everything repeats itself but on a different level every time it reaches point zero. This is point zero. Now it's going to go up another plane and then it goes point zero. Now it goes back again. This is a spiral upwards. The movement of our solar system, the movement of our galaxy, both ours and Andromeda and every single galaxy that moves like a spiral. It is a spiral of evolution. Jacob's ladder. Okay? Jacob's ladder, which moves spirally upwards or spirally downwards. Now, here, hold on. Let's make a change here. Okay. So understand that everything in life moves in a circular manner, but once you go from point zero and then you go in a circle back to that point zero, you don't go back on the same plane, another circle. You go up a notch and do the same circle. When you finish point zero, you go up another notch, go up, and that's the spiral upwards. It is a spiral heading towards divinity and towards the Godhead. We're moving away from being animal to human to God. That movement is a spiral movement upwards in evolution of our unconsciousness, our souls and spirit, including our flesh and bodies. Even though that is the body that actually lags behind because, we are going to experience the death of the physical body. All right, hold on 1 second. Uh-huh. Okay. 1 second. Okay. I gotta, you know, you know. So yeah, so the different realities like that the string theorists are proposing. Uh, Let me give you an explanation of how this works. Because every plane